Josie Duggar's life had never followed an ordinary path. The world first met her as a fragile baby, fighting for life in a quiet Arkansas hospital. Machines hummed softly beside her incubator, their steady rhythm a fragile thread between life and loss. Every heartbeat was a prayer answered, every breath a miracle. Her parents prayed through endless nights, unsure if she would live to see her first birthday. But she did. From then on, Josie wasn't just the youngest Duggar. She was their miracle. To her family, she embodied hope and divine strength. To the world, she was the child who defied the odds. Her smile became a symbol of faith itself, delicate yet unbreakable. But behind that smile was a quiet pressure few could see, the weight of perfection, the silent expectation to always be the Duggar miracle. She grew up surrounded by structure and devotion. Her parents were deeply committed, loving yet unbending in their beliefs. Every choice, every dream had to reflect the family's values. Josie accepted this with grace. She was kind, obedient, and thankful. Still, in rare moments of solitude, she wondered what it would mean to live freely, to belong only to herself. That thought began to take shape the day she met Zach. Zach wasn't famous. He wasn't rich or powerful. He was quiet, humble, and honest. A small town boy from near Fayetteville, attending a local church youth gathering where Josie happened to be. Amid laughter and songs, they met. To him, Josie wasn't the miracle child from television. She was just a gentle girl with shy eyes and a soft laugh. Their first conversation was about faith, what it meant to give without expecting, to trust what lay ahead. Over time, their friendship deepened naturally. There were no grand gestures, no rebellion, just authenticity and peace. For the first time, Josie felt something she'd never known: independence. Around Zach, she didn't have to be perfect or strong. She could simply be. But love, in her world, came with rules. When whispers spread that Josie, still so young, was developing feelings for someone, the reaction was swift. Her parents were alarmed, her siblings protective. Online, strangers turned it into a storm of judgment. They said Zach was taking advantage, that Josie was too immature, that it was wrong. None of them saw the truth. Two hearts quietly learning faith through love. Zach never argued or fought back. He told Josie that real love meant patience, respect, and trust in God's timing. Josie believed him, but her heart tore between family loyalty and personal truth. She prayed nightly for guidance, sometimes crying until dawn. Her parents tried to protect her, not out of anger, but fear. They didn't want to lose their miracle. Josie began writing letters, never meant to be read, where she poured out her confusion. I don't want to hurt anyone. But maybe love, when it's real, isn't wrong. When her parents discovered the letters, there were tears and long talks. Yet in that pain, they saw something new. Their little girl was becoming a woman of conviction. She wasn't rebelling, she was learning courage. Outside, the world was far less kind. The internet buzzed with gossip and cruel assumptions. Josie was labeled reckless. Zach was painted as a villain. Every post stung like a wound. The same people who once called her a miracle now called her misguided. For the first time, Josie felt completely alone amid a crowd. Zach stayed quiet, never defending himself publicly. He prayed more, worked harder, and endured the criticism with grace. His patience spoke louder than words. Slowly, even Josie's family began to see that his love was gentle and sincere. But the pressure was relentless. Reporters dug into Zach's past, twisting harmless details into accusations. Friends turned into sources. Yet Josie stood by him. Though the noise around them grew unbearable, every night she hid away to pray for strength. Even faith feels fragile when the world is shouting, she whispered once. Her siblings offered comfort. Jana wrote her a letter, reminding her that peace comes from truth, not approval. Jinger called. Joy sent prayers. But still, the storm within Josie's heart raged on. One night, she stepped out onto the family porch, the same one where they once filmed their smiling moments for television. The wind was still, the air heavy with rain. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "Why does doing what feels right hurt so much?" Then she remembered Zach's quiet voice. "We don't have to shout to prove love." In that moment, Josie understood something her years in the spotlight never taught her. Faith wasn't about image or control. It was about courage, the quiet kind that chooses truth over comfort. As she closed her eyes, she was no longer the baby who survived or the miracle child everyone watched. She was simply Josie, a young woman choosing to love, to believe, and to live her faith honestly. Whatever the world said next, she was ready. Because for Josie Duggar, the greatest miracle was never survival. It was learning to love without fear. Her adventure was not meant to take this turn. The world first saw Josie Duggar when she was a tiny, fragile baby girl who had been born a few months prematurely and spent her nights in an Arkansas hospital where the buzz of cables and machines broke the stillness. There was hope in every heartbeat, and every breath was a miracle. Hour after hour, her parents prayed for her. Nobody could say for sure that she would make it to her first birthday. Though she did, though, the family's living miracle became Josie, the survivor's kid and a living testimony to the power of faith to conquer all challenges. As she matured, she was never just another Duggar child. The family found solace in her to the world. She represented both fragility and strength. Every time it seemed as if a little piece of heaven itself had been frozen in time. Her grin. But there was something unseen beneath that bright smile. The unspoken weight of being the embodiment of perfection, the one who must perpetually shatter expectations. She came from a strict, rule-free family. The parents' commitment was intense, but they were also kind. All decisions and aspirations had to be in harmony with the family's public image, values, and beliefs. No problem at all for Josie. She was kind, compliant, and grateful. However, every once in a while, she wondered what it meant to live a life truly her own. Among the stillness of her bedroom, then Zach showed up. No, he wasn't a shooter. He was born into humble circumstances. More than his name, he was famous for his humble personality. In a small town not far from Phaedreville, he went about his business in silence. He happened to meet Josie at a church youth gathering where they enjoyed fun hymns and camaraderie while also growing in their religion. To him, she was no different from any other little girl, afraid, kind, and radiating a purity he couldn't quite identify. He stood out to her not because of his physical attractiveness, but because he treated her like a real person, not just another Duggar or a cute little TV kid. To kick things off, they had a little conversation regarding the Bible, generosity, and what lies ahead. However, with time, they evolved into something deeper. There was no uprising. Nothing was planned in advance. It was simple, authentic, and unadulterated. A feeling hit Josie like nothing she had ever felt before. Autonomy, self-sufficiency, separate from her family. Being perfect, powerful, or the legendary miracle wasn't necessary for her to be with Zach. Maybe that's Josie. Still, her family circumstances made love a challenge. Rules, a timetable, and approval were all part of it. And when whispers began to circulate that Josie, the youngest and still very young Duggar, might be falling for someone, reactions were quick to follow. The news shocked her parents. The outside world was shocked by her siblings' protective measures. Please, the entire planet. Criticism abounds on social media. It's mistaken. Advantage is being used by him. His age is immature. Nobody knew how she really felt. They failed to notice the night spent alone reflecting. She sought divine confirmation for her gut feeling in a prayer. Zach stayed put. He refrained from arguing. Seated beside her, he did nothing. Relationship virtues such as faith, respect, and patience, he told her, softly but firmly, were more essential than her age or her approval. He was laid back. Whatever he wanted, she would gladly give it to him. Josie cried uncountable of nights. She had irrational feelings for Zach, but she was also fiercely loyal to her family, her principles, and her honor. She feared disappointing others. She hoped she wouldn't seem disobedient or confused. Nevertheless, her heart continued to beat. Tensions rose during the subsequent months. Her mom did her best to shield her from harm. Her father prayed that she would have clarity. With the cameras still not rolling, the world missed important details. A tempest known only to Josie herself was brewing in her soul. Seeing Zach brought a tranquility to her that made her wonder if God had written their love story before time began. She began to write secret letters that she had no intention of sharing. She let her fears show through in them. I would prefer not to hurt anybody. Still, I can't pretend like my emotions aren't telling me what I need. Maybe it's not that horrible when love is genuine. Maybe they are just misreading it. She prayed with those words. When her parents found out about her letters, their lives were turned upside down. There were sobs, prolonged talks, care, but simply fear, not anger. They feared she might slip away from them. The ideal family disappears from view, and control is lost. Listen up, Josie thought. It was as if she were crying. She said a holy word. All I want to do is love with the faith, honesty, and bravery that you taught me to love with. At the end of it all, she whispered softly. A hush fell over the gathering as a result of those remarks. It was at this point when her parents realized their little miracle had grown up. Instead of rebelling, she had become a woman of conviction. It was outside that the haters continued. The web was cruel, as if she were a nickname instead of a real person. Doubters debated her worth, but Zach was consistent. He would discreetly visit her, write letters, respect her family, and never cross the line. Something began to shift. Over time, everyone in her family could see that he was patient.